Welcome to ST World Affairs. I'm your host Sanjeev Tana. As you can see that I'm not in my studio and I'm covering an event for YWCA Silicon Valley, and the event is Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. Joining me today, Tanis Crosby. She's the CEO of YWCA Silicon Valley. Tanis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sanjeev.
So you and I, we talked about a couple of months ago. You were with us. Tell us about YWCA. Remind our reviewers what is YWCA stands for.
Absolutely. YWCA's mission is to eliminate racism and empower women. And to do that, we offer a range of services that are vital to make our communities strong and safe and thrive. And one of the areas that we work is around violence prevention and response. We are a rape crisis center. We also provide critical service to survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking. And today, Walk a Mile in Her Shoes is about bringing the community together to take a stand and end violence.
So I'm just trying to understand, why do you ask men to walk in her shoes? Is there any particular, I mean, the domestic violence happens on both ways, right? I mean, most of them are women. So is it, this event is limited to only for men or women only?
Well, and that's a really good point, Sanjeev, that I'm really glad you brought up. I mean, by far, yes, it is gendered, right?
Sure.
You know, because violence is about power and control, right? So that really illuminates the root cause of violence, which is about power. But we also want to make sure that the message is absolutely clear that violence can happen to anyone, by anyone.
Sure.
It is not just a woman's issue, it's everyone's issue. And whether a person identifies as a woman, as a man, transgender, or non-binary, we want to make sure that we are ending violence and we are talking about it. And a great way of getting that conversation started is by saying, you know what, I'm going to ask somebody to do something that's outside their comfort zone. A secondary message is also, you know, what is the big deal if a person chooses to walk in high heels?
Right.
Go for it. So this is about pushing boundaries, challenging social norms, and opening up a conversation about the root causes and solutions to violence.
Now you have some numbers tied together with this event. For example, $56 for the registration of this, and you have some fundraising events. Tell us about that. What are those numbers?
Absolutely. So the numbers are real and it matters. Every 56 minutes there will be a sexual assault in the state of California. That's completely unacceptable. Right here in Silicon Valley, YWCA will serve over 18,000 people, 10,000 of whom are survivors of violence, and 1,100 of whom are survivors of sexual assault. So our goal this year was to engage 1,100 participants walking. That's one for every survivor of sexual assault, sexual violence, that we will serve this coming year. It was a big goal.
Yeah.
You know, we had about 113 registered last year.
Yeah.
This year we've reached over 525, and there's more registering and more attending. So we're going to keep that goal completely in focus because we want to make sure that every survivor knows that we are their champion and the community is their champion.
So your end goal is to bring awareness to the community here, right? I mean, that's what this event is about. How do you reach the domestic violence survivor through this event?
Well, it's both. We're reaching the general public in order to really work towards the larger goal of changing social norms and ending violence.
Right.
It also creates this space where survivors perhaps feel that there are options and solutions and choices. You can reach out to the YWCA for assistance. You will be believed, you will be supported, and the community is behind you. That's an important and powerful message. But giving you a very specific example of how this event has an incredible ripple effect, you know, we had a team of young men, a young men's basketball team, and the entire team has signed up. And so here you have an incredible opportunity to start a dialogue with young men about consent, about empowerment, about what it means to show real strength and demonstrate respect. And so it creates conversations that will lead to community change.
So when I see the volunteers here, I see a diversity here, I see a different age here. So how do you attract youth to participate in these events like this?
Well, it's been incredible. The number of youth, the number of people of all genders, right? This is about inclusion, and this is about recognizing that violence does not discriminate, and neither do we. There are so many young people participating. We have youth teams. There was another team of high school students. I mean, this is about persons of all gender really coming up and coming out and saying, we will not tolerate this in our community. And we're seeing that kind of diversity and community groundswell of support and action this year like no other year before.
What it takes, this is my last question, what it takes to pull together events like this? I'm sure that there's a lot of hard work from you, your team, but certainly you need community participation also, right?
Absolutely, but what I'd really love to underscore is the way in which volunteers and advocates and community leaders are coming together for this cause, and with the incredible support of our sponsors like Santana Row and El Camino Hospital, and just incredible sponsors, Qualcomm. These folks have mobilized in their communities. They've had conversations about how to end violence. They've engaged people. That has been the most amount of work, and it has been a community-wide mobilization effort that has just been astounding to see.
Denise, thank you very much for inviting us here, number one.
Thank you.
And then I'm pretty much sure that we'll be interviewing many more, some of your volunteers here. And I wish good luck, and then I wish that you will come back to our show in the coming months.
That would be great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I'm with San Jose Chief Police Eddie Garcia. I want to ask you a question. What brings you here? What have you ever participated in this event before, and why do you support this event?
You know, I participated in this event before. It's an important event. I applaud the YWCA for bringing us all out here for a matter of engagement and for an awareness for the issues of domestic violence and other issues that affect our community. But with regard specifically to our women and women who are victims of domestic violence and abuse. And it's important to be out here, to be part of this. It's a fun event on a topic that is not a very fun topic to talk about, but a very serious topic. And so we're out here raising awareness for the fact that we all support our women, and we are very against the violence that occurs against women.
Give us your background information, how long you have been with San Jose Police Department, and then walk us through some of the experience, if you could. Give us some example about this domestic violence. What do you see most of the time when you occur these domestic violence events? How do you handle that?
Well, I would say I've been on with the San Jose Police Department for over 25 years now. And, in that time, I've handled and I've supervised many events involving domestic violence. And really, there's a lot of fear. And that time when officers arrive on the scene isn't the first time that something's occurred. Generally speaking, it's the first time or a time where it's become physical. But prior to that, we find that there's a lot of mental abuse that's occurred prior to any physical abuse occurring. And, one of the important things and why you see a lot of men out here is because together as men, we're responsible for it. We have to make sure that when we see something, we say something. We got to make sure that when we're in conversations amongst ourselves with a group of other men, that we know that it's not okay to talk about women in a certain way, that we have to make sure that we are examples to our kids on how to treat women. And so it's important for us to be out here to show that solidarity, but when we're working on this issue at work, we got to make sure that, the women that are victims feel empowered as well, that know their resources, know where to go, and know that we're here to assist them and help them.
So when you talk with the victims of the domestic violence, walk us through a process that how do San Jose Police Department, how do they work with non-profits like YWCA?
Well, we work with a lot of nonprofits for our outreach programs. The YWCA is amazing, but it's a lot of the aftercare. Women who have been abused or have been victims, to let them know they have support. Many times, women that have been victims of domestic violence, will go back into that same environment at times if they don't have strong support, and let them know that there is a way out. So it's imperative and very important for us to have this relationship with service providers in order to empower women and empower victims, to let them know that there is a way to get out of that circle of violence. And so it's incredibly important. We cannot do it on our own. We need their help.
Silicon Valley, it's kind of a hub for immigrations, right?
Yes.
There are many immigrants from all over the world. They come down here and they settle here. So do you see any trend here with the recently arrived immigrants who don't understand or appreciate the laws? I won't say appreciate, but they don't understand the laws, because they may be coming from wherever they are coming from. They may have different kind of rules and laws over that. Do you see that as a factor in terms of domestic violence? Where do you have any statistics, or do you have any numbers?
I don't have statistics and I don't have numbers, but I can tell you from experience and anecdotal information that culture does play a part at times in this violence. And so it's incumbent on us to work on outreach to ensure that our entire community understands what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And so it's really important for us to get that message out. Ultimately, in the end, whether you know the message or not know the message, it is unacceptable, and we will deal it as such. But knowing that education is important, it is a facet of what we need to do as a police department, because we do have issues with culture with regards to this problem.
Right. So coming back to this event, I understand not only you are supporting this event, you are participating in this event also.
Yes.
So you will be walking 1 mile in a women's hill. So there you go. Can you show us? There you go.
I'll be walking a mile in these shoes right here. They're blue, so they match my uniform.
So this is not your first event, right?
It's not my
so
first event.
Can you share your experience with us? How does it feel?
It's very awkward, and it's painful.
Yeah, because of the long heels.
Because of the long heels and the balance, and it's a fun event because we can laugh. It's not that enjoyable walking in heels. It's very difficult.
Okay.
So I applaud every individual that does this on a daily basis. We just have to walk a mile, but a lot of people do this obviously on an everyday basis. So it's a great event, and we acknowledge that.
I appreciate it. You coming down here and talking with us, and thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks. I'm with Krista. Krista is with YWCA, and she's a sexual assault survivor. Can you tell us about your background, how you work with a YWCA?
I work with YWCA because they were introduced to my life 7 years ago when I was sexually assaulted. And from there, it just became an ongoing, growing relationship. And from every event that they ever have, they always have me. So the word victim doesn't apply to anybody, the word survivor. For every sexual assault warrior that made it through the same situations I did.
So Krista, what do you do now, right now? You just now graduated from the San Jose State University. Tell us about your major. What do you do?
Criminal Justice Studies was my major. I'm pursuing my master's degree in social work, so one day I can come into probation and help juveniles, and one day work in the victim advocate unit because I had a great experience by having an advocate from YWCA.
When you were assaulted, sexually assaulted, and now it took you 7 years to come to this stage.
7 years ago, you would have met a vulnerable Kristen, a Kristen that wanted to end life because why would you want, I couldn't figure out why is this happening to me. And because of the justice, there was no justice that was served. The justice was a joke. So I took that incident and I turned it into positive, making it my mission to want to study criminal justice and learn the court system more and learn how sentencing procedures go. With my degree, it's a work in progress, but I'm hoping within the next year, a year from now when I'm done with the master's program, I hope to work probation and eventually be around survivors that can make it through like I did.
That's what your future plan is, that you want to be, you want to work with a non-profit like YWCA, and then work with the work with the survivors of domestic violence or sexual assault. Is that what you want to do?
Yes, because 16-year-old me, it takes a lot for someone to say something, especially when it was a family member that did that to me.
Okay. Krista, any message you want to give to a domestic violence survivor or sexual assault survivor? Do you have any message for them?
Anyone that's ever been in my shoes or in my shoes, you should never hold on and not say something. You should always branch out and reach out, because if you don't keep telling somebody your story, then if that person doesn't listen, the next person will. And until they get justice like I did, they'll feel like they won as a conquering survivor.
Krista, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. I am with Diane and Rick, and both of them lost their daughter about a couple of years ago in 2015. Rick, first of all, I'm sorry about that you lost your daughter, but it's very important for our community that you share your information or your experience with us about this domestic violence.
Yep. Well, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Well, our daughter, Alessandra Barlas, her picture's on the front here. She was 27 at the time of her murder. She had broken up with her boyfriend 2 weeks before, and obviously he didn't like that, and he lured her into a situation downtown San Jose and murdered her. One of the stunning things for us as parents was apparently this guy had committed a crime similar to this in Reno, Nevada, and tried to kill an ex-girlfriend up there in the same way, stabbing and strangling. But he was not successful, and she survived, thank God. She escaped. But we didn't know about it. And that's what really got me right off the bat is, wait a minute, this guy committed this crime and we didn't know about it. So we formed a nonprofit, the Alessandra Foundation, which is designed to shine the bright light of truth on those that commit domestic violence, find a way to educate people on why this happens. It's a generational issue. Abusers aren't born, they're made. And so we want people to understand that. We're partnering with the YWCA and Tanis Crosby and her group to do that. We're partnering with the Next Door Solutions and that group. And it's a very compelling story. So we've just started it. Actually, 2 days ago was our 1-year anniversary of being formed. So we're just, any opportunity we have to speak, we go speak. We have some events that we're planning, and we're just getting started, but we're going to get this done. And what we want to get is a database to get into the FBI crime database where everything's public information. We want to be able to pull out domestic violence related crimes on what we call the Alessandra's list, just like any other list, but it'll be like a Google where you can search to see if the person that your daughter or niece or anybody is dating, to find out, hey, does this guy have any crimes in his past? We didn't have that opportunity.
It's like a background check.
Yeah, background check, but we didn't have that opportunity. It's public information, so common sense says to me, I need to have access to that. I don't know why we can't, but we're going to get that done. And we're working with Assemblyman Ash Kalra and Senator Jim Bell. We're right at the beginning of working on some kind of legislation to get that opened up. I've said this many times. I sell rocks for a living, so I don't know how to do this, but I can talk. So I'm here to talk about my daughter, Alessandra, and honor her, and move this ball along. Thank you.
Diane, as a mother, I know it's very difficult for you to talk about your daughter, but tell us about your daughter.
I'm so happy to talk about Alessandra. She, of course, as you can see, she was beautiful. She was an amazing young woman. She had just gotten accepted to nursing school at Samuel Merritt just a couple of days before she was murdered, and she'd had been in advertising and marketing. She had gone to San Jose State. And so she was working in advertising, and then she got the call to become a nurse. She had many, many friends. She's a loving, compassionate woman who volunteered at Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, the Second Harvest Food Bank. She was just, her name, Alessandra, means defender and helper of mankind. And even though she is not with us, this foundation is doing what she would be doing, which is helping and defending mankind. So we're very proud of her. We miss her dearly, and so do her friends. But in her honor, we have the foundation, and we're going to save lives. We're going to change things, and we're going to save lives.
So Rick, can you tell us about this domestic violence? So what have you learned in last 1 year, ever since you started this nonprofit?
We've discovered what a prevalent problem it is in society, and specifically that it's really, really generational and starts early in the womb. And I think it's better if Diane tells her story, but there was a generational aspect to this because Diane, in her first marriage, ended up in a battered women's shelter with Alessandra and our son Aaron. So it's one of those familiarity things that you discover as you're going through, and when we've worked with the YWCA and other people, they understand this because they study it all the time. So we're just kind of leaning on them. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we want to partner with them and say, okay, that's a resource that we can give to people, but we've told them you can use us as a resource to go talk about what reality is about domestic violence, and we're reality. You know, our daughter was murdered and didn't need to happen. So how can we stop that and have no more Alessandras and no more millions of other women who've been murdered by their intimate partners? I mean, it's so tragic, and it's avoidable. So we're just proud to be able to stand up, because Alessandra would be proud. And I've said this to many other people. This is exactly what Alessandra was about. She'd be all over this. She was Miss Organization, Miss Excellence. Let's get this going, and let's go get them.
Rick, Dan, I thank you for coming to our show.
I'm currently a domestic violence probation officer, and basically violence against women needs to stop. Women are, they're our mothers, they're our daughters. You know, without women we can't have life. They're our sisters. And you know, we, the probation department, and in my department especially, in domestic violence, we want the violence to stop. And so, you know, I think having men be a part of this cause is really helpful.
This domestic violence happens with the immigrants community or any age group. It happens.
It happens to everybody. I mean, this isn't something that is generational. It's not class. It's not socioeconomic. This happens across our systems with everybody. So it needs to stop. It's not whether you're poor or you're rich. It crosses all boundaries.
Okay. That's the last question. How do you guys feel about your issues?
going to keep them.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
That's right. These are very hard to walk in. We've been out here for 2 minutes, and I already want to take them off.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Very much good to us. Yeah. So I'm with Francine. Francine, tell us why you are here and what kind of role you are playing in YWCA.
Well, I just started with this incredible team. YWCA really is absolutely fantastic. We are really trying to get the word out about ending violence against women, and I'm here to support, here to really get people pumped and ready to go for this great, incredible event.
So, what inspired you to participating in a non-profit like YWCA?
I'm here supporting, myself, fellow women, friends, the wonderful, strong women in my own family, and I've always, loved being in a nonprofit, working for and giving all I can to nonprofit work, but first and foremost, for all women, all girls, all, young women especially coming up, showing support and being here for them.
I hear many guys are complaining about walking in women's shoes. Is that true?
Yes.
Is it very hard?
Yes, and I'm a little grateful that they finally understand the pain, because it can be painful, yes.
Francine, thank you very much.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
I think we should grab one of...
I'm going to go check in at the front, but yes, we should come down here
okay,
soon.
I think we... Looking good. Looking good.
Oh, good. I told the cops 6 months. 6 months, great.
This is great. I'm with Brian and Drew. Tell us about your story, why you are here.
Well, we're here for a number of reasons. One, it's just a good cause. We're here because we shouldn't have to be here, but as long as we have to keep walking, we will. Secondarily, we are also promoting a show that we're doing for the YWCA, Extremities. It's a local theater production that we're putting on. All of the net proceeds are going to go straight to the YWCA. We open in 2 weeks at Santa Clara Players. We're running for 3 weekends. YWCA is going to come out every weekend and do a Q&A. And it's a really good event. It's a really powerful show. And we just want to get everybody out and fill that theater so we can get a lot of money into the YWCA.
Excellent. Brian, tell me about yourself. What's your background and why you're here?
I'm here because I am actually in the show. I'm one of the actors. But more importantly, I'm here because I know women who have had to deal with violence against them. I'm here because that should never happen. If we're here as people, we're here for each other, and more than anything, I'm here because I don't want anybody else to experience that, ever.
Okay. Drew, Brian, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Coming through a lot of heavily heeled people. Where's the angle? Where's the angle?
You look great. How you doing? Great, thank you.
Okay, I'm with Natasha. Natasha, tell us about you.
Hi, I'm a Dancer College human sexuality instructor. I've been involved with the YWCA Rape Crisis Center for over 15 years, and I'm out here to support violence against women, and I really appreciate everyone coming out.
So when you say you work with YWCA, is it something you work with a survivor or victim of the?
Yes, I did the training. I worked the hotline. I've gone to the police station with survivors. I've gone on SART exams in the hospital as an advocate. And I have them come every quarter to talk to my students in my human sexuality class at De Anza to promote awareness. And so I'm very involved.
Your students, how old are they?
They're adults, so 18 to 80, all ages. Okay. Yes, males and females.
So when you talk with them about this domestic violence, sexual assaults and everything, how do you talk about that? I mean, is there any process here? Do you give them a case study? You give them an example? Obviously, you can talk about domestic violence as a general, but are you giving them an example? You ask some of the domestic violence survivor to come down to your classroom and they talk about it?
Absolutely. We start with the YWCA presentation that kicks off the conversation and really dispel stereotypes and myths around sexual assault and domestic violence. And then the conversation goes from there. And we talk about statistics, and we talk about my students share personal stories as well. And it's very empowering for not only the student who is sharing a personal story, but for other students to hear their stories.
Since you are a professor and you deal with the numbers and statistics, can you share some statistic in San Jose, or I would say California? Let's just talk about California.
1 in 4 women are survivors. 1 in 4 women are sexually assaulted.
Now, I'm trying to figure, and I did ask this question to many, is domestic violence has any relation to your culture, the background, where you come from, or what kind of how you have been raised?
I think the understanding around domestic violence is definitely cultural, and whether or not it is something that people turn a blind eye to, or even talk about or discuss, definitely is a very cultural type issue. And so and I have all ethnic groups, all ages in my classroom, and so that's why it's so important to talk about these issues that oftentimes are hush-hush or taboo to talk about in our communities.
Tasha, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm with Joshua, Hong, and Josh. Okay, I want to ask you guys one question, and you guys can answer me individually. Why you are here?
I'm here just to make a difference and support people that have been going through these types of things.
How old are you?
I'm 18 years old, sir.
How about you?
I'm here to make changes and like as like him, like support and I want to see change, equality.
How old are you?
I'm 16.
How about you?
I'm Josh. I'm here to see a change, be a part of the society, help people. As you can see, my voice is pretty broken from the yelling. Also, yeah, I want to see a change.
Do you guys know about domestic violence?
Do I know about domestic violence, sir? Not really, sir. I don't really go through or know anybody that goes through that, but I know it's out there, sir, and that's what we're trying to fix, sir.
Okay. How about you?
I don't really know much, but I know it's out there.
Okay. So you guys know about the definition of domestic violence, why it happens. It can happen to anyone and any time, right? And you guys are young here, so moving forward, you may be in that situation where a situation like domestic violence can happen. So you think that events like this can be helpful for you guys as a learning process?
I think events like this is really helpful for the learning process because we have to pave the path for the future and the future generation so then nobody will experience domestic violence anymore.
How did you get involved with this YWCA?
Well, I got involved in YWCA through my school, and that's how I met them.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have fun.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm with Ronaldo. Ronaldo, tell us why you're here.
I'm here to support a cause against abuse against women. So it's walk a mile in her shoes. So we all wear heels and we walk a mile in Santana Row to stand against violence.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I have a wife and a daughter. It could easily be them that can go through this. So I stand with them always.
Okay. So this last question, what size shoes you are wearing?
I think these are 10s. And I'm not sure why I picked these. These hurt so bad.
Okay, good luck. You're finishing 1 mile?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, good luck.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. How's that?
Thanks. Good. Great. I'm with Rob. Rob, tell us why you're here.
Hi, I'm Robert Cummings. I'm a former prosecutor in this county. I have a law firm for about 10 years. We've represented many victims of domestic violence and children who are affected by it in many different ways in all aspects. We've been able to get good results as far as that goes. I'm also, from a personal basis, I've seen domestic violence up close and personal, and I understand how it devastates homes and it devastates through generation after generation.
Okay. So do you think that events like this, it brings awareness to the community?
Absolutely, yes, and it brings funding. This is all important. There are many different fundraising places that need this. Cora, YMCA, many of them create great support for women who have to pluck themselves out of a very horrible situation.
Okay. Any message for people who are watching this show and who are going through this domestic violence? They may be going through this, they may be a survivor or they may be a victim of the domestic violence. Any message for them?
Certainly. Make a plan when things get heated up. Realize that you do not want to step over the line and become a defendant in a criminal matter. It can affect your life. It can affect your ability to work, your ability to remain free, and it can ruin you, and it can ruin your children as well, because they see what goes on and it gets passed down from generation to generation, and it needs to stop.
Okay, Rob, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.